The jagged waves smooth out. This is science observing the wind of prana quieting down, allowing the water of chitta to return to its natural state of undisturbed clarity. Thoughts are not solid structures. They are electromagnetic fluctuations within a broader field of energy. The critical question that arises from both the yogic and scientific views is this: if the mind is an energy field, whether composed of chitta or electromagnetic waves, is that field inherently conscious? The categorical answer from Advaita Vedanta is no. The mind's energy field, on its own, is completely inert, dead and unconscious, jada. It belongs entirely to the realm of prakriti, matter, nature. An electromagnetic field, no matter how complex its patterns are, can never possess the capacity to say, "I am aware." A computer, regardless of its processing power, feels nothing. The mind only appears conscious and intelligent because it stands in absolute proximity to the true source of awareness, Brahman. It borrows its light. To explain this mystery of borrowed intelligence, the sages created three classic metaphors: the mirror metaphor, the iron ball metaphor, the movies metaphor, the mirror and the sun. Imagine a vast, brilliant sun shining in a clear sky. On the ground below, inside a dark, windowless stone chamber, sits a highly polished silver mirror. By itself, the mirror is a cold, dark piece of glass. It has no capacity to emit light. However, if a single ray of sunlight enters the room through a crack in the wall and strikes the face of the mirror, a transformation occurs. The mirror catches the light, reflects it, and bounces it into the dark corners of the room. Suddenly, the furniture, the floor, and the walls are illuminated. An observer standing in the room might look at the mirror and conclude, the mirror is the source of the light. But this is a profound illusion. The light does not belong to the mirror, it belongs to the sun. The mirror is merely a borrower. In this analogy, the sun is pure consciousness, Brahman, and the mirror is the mind's energy field. Your thoughts, emotions, and intellectual concepts shine using this reflected light. The mind borrows the capacity to be aware from the underlying reality. The glowing iron ball. Consider a heavy, dark lump of iron. By its very nature, iron is cold, rigid, and opaque. It cannot give off heat or light. Now, place that iron ball into the heart of a blazing furnace. As the iron sits within the fire, it absorbs the heat. The intense vibrations of the fire penetrate the atomic structure of the iron. Soon the iron ball begins to change color. It glows deep red, then bright orange, and finally a brilliant, blinding white. It has become so saturated with fire that it behaves exactly like fire. If you touch it, it will burn you. If you place it in a dark room, it will illuminate the space. Has the iron actually turned into fire? No. Its chemical identity remains iron. It has simply borrowed the qualities of the fire by being immersed in it. Similarly, when the naturally cold, inert energy field of the mind is immersed within the all-pervading furnace of pure consciousness, it becomes charged with intelligence. The mind begins to feel, think, reason, and declare, "I am alive." The intelligence belongs to the fire of Brahman. The mind is just the iron ball glowing with borrowed heat. The movie projector. Walk into a modern movie theater. On the massive screen in front of you, a complex drama unfolds. There are heroes, villains, vast mountain ranges, explosions, and deep oceans. You watch the characters cry, laugh, and fight. Where does the reality of those characters come from? If you walk up to the screen and touch the image of a roaring fire, your hand will not get burned. If you touch the image of an ocean, your hand will remain dry. Why? Because the characters, the fire, and the landscapes have no independent existence. They are entirely composed of the pure, unfiltered white light coming from the projector bulb at the back of the theater. That white light passes through a moving film reel. The film reel contains small, transparent frames with different colors and shapes printed on them. The film reel blocks some light, alters other light, and projects shadows onto the screen. In this setup, the projector bulb is consciousness. The film reel is the mind's energy field with its passing thoughts and memories, and the moving images are your daily experience of life. The characters on the screen have no light of their own. If you turn off the projector bulb, the entire world of the movie vanishes into absolute nothingness in a fraction of a second. Consciousness is the ultimate bulb. It illuminates the moving film of your thoughts, creating the vast, vivid illusion of a personal life. When a human being first encounters the core tenet of Advaita Vedanta, the famous declaration by Adi Shankara, Brahman is real, the world is an illusion, the logical intellect immediately recoils. The mind looks around the room, feels the solid wood of the table, hears the traffic outside, experiences the physical pain of a headache, and says, "How can this be an illusion? This world is real, tangible, and full of consequence. If I do not eat, I starve. If I am hit by a car, I bleed. To call this an illusion is absurd." This resistance stems from a linguistic misunderstanding of how non-dual philosophy defines reality. In common English, the word real is binary. Something either exists or it does not. If it exists, it is real. If it does not, it is a hallucination. To bridge this intellectual gap and provide a nuanced analysis of existence, Vedantic metaphysics divides reality into three distinct levels: asat, mithya, and satya. Asat, absolute non-existence. Asat refers to that which is completely impossible. It is a logical contradiction that can never exist in the past, present, or future. It can never even appear to your senses. The traditional scriptures use vivid poetic examples to illustrate asat, the horns of a hare, or the sky flower to describe an absolute nothingness. It has no structural reality, cannot be perceived, and can never cause any effect. It is a complete void. Mithya, apparent or relative reality. This is the most critical category in non-dual philosophy, and it is where the energy field of the mind and the entire physical universe reside. Mithya is not asat, absolute nothingness. The mind and the world are clearly not nothing. They appear to us, they have functional utility, and they can be measured by scientific instruments. However, Mithya describes an entity that does not possess independent existence. It borrows its reality from an underlying substrate, and its form is temporary, changing, and conditional. It exists during the experience but disappears when its base is removed or when a higher truth is realized. The classic example is a snake seen in a dimly lit room, which upon closer inspection with a flashlight reveals itself to be nothing but a coiled piece of rope. While you are under the illusion, the snake is functionally real to you. Your heart races, your palms sweat, and you scream in genuine terror. The fear is real, but the snake is mithya. It is an appearance that depends entirely on the existence of the rope. Satya, absolute reality. Satya is defined as that which is completely independent. It does not rely on any other entity to exist. It is changeless, uncaused, and remains true across all three periods of time: past, present, and future. It cannot be negated or sublated by any higher experience. There is only one reality that fits this description: Brahman, pure consciousness. Everything else changes, comes, and goes. The body changes from infancy to old age and turns to ash. The mind changes its thoughts from second to second. The universe expands and contracts. But the underlying space of awareness, the silent witness of all these changes, remains absolutely constant, unblemished, and eternal. But the mind is also clearly not Satya, ultimate, independent reality. Why? Because the mind is a shapeshifter. It lacks stability. When you fall into a deep, dreamless sleep every night, your mind, your ego, your personal problems, your memories, and your sense of identity completely vanish. If the mind were the ultimate reality, it could never cease to exist for even a fraction of a second. Therefore, The mind is classified as mithya. It is an apparent reality. It has a powerful, functional existence during your waking and dreaming hours, but its existence is entirely dependent upon the underlying rope of pure consciousness. It is a grand, cosmic projection, a beautiful, swirling pattern of energy that borrows its reality from Brahman. To anchor this understanding of mithya without dismissing your human experience, look at the classic analogy of a whirlpool in a fast-flowing river. Imagine standing on a riverbank. You look down into the water and see a powerful spinning vortex, a whirlpool. You can take a photograph of it, measure its diameter, calculate its speed of rotation, and trace its exact coordinates in space. If a small leaf floats near it, it will be sucked down into the center. The whirlpool has genuine physical power. You cannot say it is absolute nothingness, a sat. But now, try to perform a physical separation. Try to isolate the whirlpool from the river. If you scoop up the whirlpool with a bucket, what do you have in your hands? You just have water. The moment the water stops moving in that specific circular pattern, the whirlpool completely vanishes. It never had an independent life of its own. It was nothing but water, pretending to be a vortex for a temporary period. The whirlpool is just a temporary nama, name, and rupa, form, imposed upon the underlying reality of jala, water. In exactly the same way, your mind's energy field is a magnificent whirlpool swirling within the infinite ocean of Brahman. Your thoughts, your personality traits, your anxieties, and your creative insights are the circular currents of this vortex. The whirlpool is real as a dynamic expression of movement, but its substance is pure consciousness. You do not need to destroy the whirlpool to find the water. The whirlpool is water right now. You do not need to kill your mind to find Brahman. Your mind is already Brahman in dynamic motion. When the intellect accepts the non-dual premise that Brahman is the only ultimate reality, perfect, omniscient, self-luminous, and complete, it inevitably hits a brick wall of logic. This is the classic paradox that has initiated the deepest crises of faith and philosophy across human history. The mind demands an answer to a glaring contradiction. If Brahman is infinite intelligence and nothing exists outside of Brahman, how could ignorance ever arise? How could this perfect, all-knowing ocean ever look out from a small wave and genuinely believe it is separate, limited, and suffering? If the light is absolute, where did the darkness of the mind come from? Did Brahman look at itself one day and simply forget its own identity? To resolve this paradox, we must look at how the question itself is structured. The moment you ask how or why ignorance started, you have unconsciously snuck two massive assumptions into the equation: the concept of time and the concept of causality. You are asking for a starting point on a historical timeline, and you are asking for a cause that produced an effect. But time, space, and causality are not independent realities that exist outside of Brahman. They are the structural walls of the mind itself. They are part of the scenery inside the movie. You cannot use time to explain the origin of time. You cannot use causality to explain the source of causality. From the absolute viewpoint of Brahman, there is no history, no past, no future, and no linear chain of events. Therefore, asking when ignorance began is a logical error. Sages across millennia have answered this mystery by breaking down the explanation into three progressive tiers of understanding. The first, most accessible level of explanation is the concept of Lila, which translates to divine play or cosmic game. Imagine you are an all-powerful, infinite being. You can create universes with a single thought.